We have one more person, I think. Clay. This is her idea, not mine. I just want you to know there's a preface. This is my dear friend Amy, and this is her idea, not mine.
Well, half of this is, today is Barbara's 79th birthday.
No kidding.
And I made her cookies, and so, and these are a chocolate chip, gluten-free, made with coconut and almond flour and coconut sugar. So, so I didn't make enough for everyone, so I cut them in half and put them on a plate. So that's the way So, but this is for your birthday.
Thank you, dear.
And she wanted them passed around. So.
Yes. I can have one?
Yep.
Thank you.
You can have as many as
Lovely. Thank you, Amy.
Or do you want me to just leave them over here? Or
No, pass them around. That's good. And then we can take more on the way out. Oh, Amy, they're very good. Thank you. They're delicious. Thank you. Well done. So I'm going to tell you a little story about the birthday. This doesn't have to be on the live stream, but if it is, it's okay. It's right. Some years ago, I had a lovely cancer, and kind of exciting. Cancers can sometimes be quite dramatic. And after it was over, my surgeon said, because of the kind of cancer you had, because of its location, and because of the impact of the cancer and of the treatment, from now on, your body is going to be 20 years older than you are. So I'm actually 99. Stay tuned for next year.
I'm just gonna set these over here on the.
Excuse me, I think this would be a better spot to, no, I'm kidding. No, kidding. Amy, I was kidding.
No.
Oh, okay, as long as they're here. Anyway, please come and take them all. We don't want to leave them here for the little critters. So if you don't mind, I'd like to, before we go on to verse 4, I want to give you a little bit more on verse 3 that has to do with the actual practice in seclusion and what it's for, and I mean how it can be so beneficial. The verse is saying that is addressing negative places and the abandonment of negative places or conditions. And sometimes we do need to think about that. In the early practice, the early stages of our practice, our practice and our minds are not strong enough to withstand the habitual influences in some of the negative relationships or negative circumstances, such as job situations or political environments and so on, to which we may be continuously exposed. So at times it does appear that we do need to take our absence for at least a while from certain circumstances. And people do that. I mean, we take a little geographical cure and then come back or whatever. So that is a way of thinking also about how to abandon places that have a negative impact on the mind. But sometimes we can't do that. Sometimes it's not virtuous to step away. For example, people with a family situation where there's a lot of unhappiness, that can be a situation that's overwhelming to our practice, that where our practice of continuous bodhicitta is not strong enough yet, and we are affected by the negativity or the despair or the suffering in, say, a close relationship. And it may be a relationship that you can't step away from without causing harm. You know, that exists, you know, like when there's children involved, or even when there's a partner who's sick and that you feel you must stay and take care of. Excuse me. Or a workplace where you've got a commitment to a project and you need to see it through, even though you're really burned out and it's causing a hardship for you. So it's not always virtuous to step away, even though for the clarity and pristine quality of the mind surroundings you would like to. So if you can't step away, the remedy is to stay and to practice on it continuously. And I want to read you just a couple of excerpts about that. I've known so many in such kinds of situations, and I myself have some knowledge of being in situations like that. And the virtues of practicing continuously are always apparent anyway, but in situations where there's real difficulty for you and where it seems potentially harmful and you are not able to step away, then the continuous practice is essential. So I want to just read a couple of things. Then you will find your ways to practice on it continuously. Notice that I'm saying your ways to practice on it continuously. Drawing on your teacher's instructions for you, your study of teachings, your personal need for balance and confidence, your natural compassion and love, and your own spontaneously inventive creative play, that relaxed readiness to see things from an unexpected angle, and to allow the tension of self-focus to release even in a momentary remembrance of compassion for all. There's the remembrance again. The remembrance is key to the continuous practice. Then the inner method of continuous practice is to draw the mind within itself over and over again, gently and as often as needed. Rely not on the ever-fluctuating thoughts and emotions, but on what you know to be true. That's a very key instruction for us in working with our afflictive emotions. Emotions come and go. They are a terrible basis for making any decisions. They're not reliable. So rely on what you know to be true. The underlying truths of impermanence, interdependence, and karma, and the ever-reliable generative truths of compassion and kindness and patience. No afflictive or obscured state of mind can be held unmoving. When you lose clarity, you can find it anew. And so even in the most difficult situation, a simple glance within can refresh the mind in its natural wisdom state, its natural clarity. It's a very simple thing, that drawing the attention within, instantly there's relaxation throughout the body. When mind meets mind. That's Milarepa's instruction, let mind rest within the mind. And then Karinpoche's pith instruction for me, as a practitioner, a student, and a teacher, is, Barbara, whatever practice you receive, whatever teaching you receive, distill from it the essence and practice on that. And then you have to ask yourself, with every teaching and practice, what is the essence? What is the specific and critical instruction here that I must understand and practice and master? And that, to extract the essence of these verses that we're studying, that's the way to take those into our continuous attention and practice. Yes? Yes, I'd like to just finish this one piece first, and then I'll come back. Okay? That's all right. Yeah, that's good. So to distill the essence and practice on the essence of any teaching or practice, that is certainty in the Dharma. Because we practice, we don't take a huge bite and practice on the whole thing. We practice on the bite that we can manage. We chew it and until it's really dissolved, and we take the nourishment from it. That's taking the essence, right? Extracting the essence. And so we're going from certainty to certainty, rather than from confusion to confusion. Because once we take a practice deep within and really work it, and or teaching deep within and really work it, then we have some certainty about that, and then we're ready for the next bite, bite from the Dharma banquet. Yes? That's certainty of the Dharma. So I want to read this paragraph for you. As practitioners, we're advised to take ourselves as the sick patient, the teacher as the doctor, and the Dharma as the medicine. It is also taught that there's no universal remedy. Each individual's karma is that individual's karma, so each individual's condition of mind and potentials is unique in its particular combination of confusion and insight of causes and their consequences. However, there is a universal remedy at the level of essence. Bodhicitta, the all-pervading ceaseless radiance of emptiness. For self-grasping, thrown up by basic ignorance and the cause of every suffering, bodhicitta is the medicine, and this seed is within us right now. Garinpoche says the only cause of true happiness is love. Into the state of love, secluded from all harm, we invite all beings. So that's the essence of that instruction. And you asked about what does it mean to let the mind rest within the mind? You have to find that out. And a good place to start is, what does that mean? Just as you did. But you will practice it by drawing the attention within and cultivating the inner gaze and inward attention. Are you able to do that? So, and And when you do that, and the mind rests within, then mind is resting within mind. And you can feel it also throughout your body. Do you feel it throughout your body? Do you feel it as a relaxation? Yeah, that's what it means. Let the mind rest within the mind. Yeah, that's what it means experientially. And so then you'll discover deeper meanings of it as you practice that. Yes? I shouldn't maybe say deeper. I don't know that they're deeper, but they're the next. No, I wouldn't even say they're next. There is no next. So just practice that and see what happens.
Could you say that it's also meditating? That would be similar to that?
That meditating?
Right.
Well, you do really want to have a meaning of meditating today, don't you? That is a form of meditation. Yeah. But anything that you practice, with the intention of liberating yourself and beings from suffering could be considered a meditation, I suppose. Really, I'm no longer using the word. I really don't know what it means anymore. But I like to discover for myself what certain instructions give me, what they show me, what they open for me. So that mind of inquiry, of friendly curiosity, that's a great mind to approach a new instruction with. And I don't know if you know Milarepa, but you know where it got him, if you do. And if you don't, you should read his biography and his 100,000 songs. Right? So I think anything Milarepa tells me to do is something I want to do. So I highly commend this particular instruction. So, okay, rocketing further forward to verse 4. Family and longtime companions will part from each other. Possessions gained with effort will be left behind. Consciousness, a guest, will leave the guest house of the body. Let go of all worldly concerns. This is the way of a bodhisattva. What do you think this verse is about? What's the essence? Let's extract the essence from this verse.
I see more discussion about attachments. And
Worldly concerns to be let go of. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? Consciousness, a guest, will leave the guest house of the body. What is that about? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And possessions gained with effort will be left behind. What is that about?
Lost.
Loss? Mm-hmm. Family and longtime companions will part from each other. What are those three statements? What are they pointing to as the condition of our what? Impermanence, yeah. That everything that, all created appearances are impermanent. Nothing lasts. Everything changes. That's impermanence. Everything comes and goes. That's impermanence. Can't hold on to anything. That's impermanence. So let go of worldly concerns. I read something one time many years ago. I wish I knew where it came from. I don't even know who said it. It was a Lama writing, I think online something. He said, when you really grasp impermanence, which is a funny way to speak of it, when you grasp impermanence, I think he used that word, you will become happy for no reason. Maybe he said, when you really understand impermanence, you will become happy for no reason. And I have been practicing on impermanence for a very, very long time. My body has revealed itself to be impermanent in lots of ways, and I've moved a tremendous amount, and I've had a tremendous amount of, interesting and challenging and sometimes very, very painful circumstances in my life, and none of them exist anymore. I mean, they're all, they're all impermanent. And so when I'm troubled, I go to impermanence, which is, it's quite different from shrugging the shoulders and saying, oh, well, this doesn't make any difference. It's saying, it's pointing to truth, not to not caring. It's just pointing to, well, this actually, is going to change in another 5 minutes or another 5 years or, another 5 seconds. This is impermanent. This is impermanent. It takes a lot of the sting out of suffering to recognize that it's impermanent. And it takes a lot of the sting out of one's own self-judgment to recognize that the things we're judging ourselves for are impermanent. They arise from causes and conditions, and they're changing. They're always changing. So I think of impermanence as a Dharma merriment maker. It's like the champagne of impermanence, merriment. It makes me laugh. It makes me laugh when I realize that something that I'm hanging on to as if my entire spiritual future depended on it is completely impermanent. There's nothing there to hold on to. And it's very satisfying. It's very satisfying. And as has been sweetly pointed out today, I'm getting older. As I approach, the horizon, I'm rejoicing in my own impermanence. Rejoicing in my own impermanence. Specific expressions of that, with body parts acting up and stuff like that. That's not very easy, but the fact of my impermanence is a joyful thing to me at this time. Nothing to fixate on, nothing to grasp hold of, nothing to. I need to maintain, I need to maintain and nourish and support and so on, but I don't need to grasp to anything. It's one of the and I think we see that a lot in people as they age, actually. It looks like they're withdrawing from life, but perhaps they're not withdrawing from life. Perhaps they're just recognizing life's conditions, and maybe the investment is being withdrawn. The investment is withdrawn. Investing in. I have a wonderful neighbor who's in her 90s, and she's a former artist and a horsewoman, and she's still out there taking care of her house and doing stuff in her garden, planting trees. In her mid-90s, she's planting trees. What do you think of that? Isn't that beautiful? She knows they're not for her, right? But she thinks a tree would be great here, would give a little more shade. She's not going to sit under that tree. She probably planted some apple trees, and she's not going to eat those apples. And she says to me, Barbara, if you don't hear from me for a little while, I'm probably over here on the little stool because I've been trying to plant these bushes. So just, you can come and find me. She said, don't do anything about it, though. She's just, and it's not a withdrawal from life. It's not a rejection of anything. It's just a kind of amused acknowledgement of, oh, the end is given that there's a beginning, there's an end, right? But the end is in sight. I can't exactly put it on the horizon, but it's in sight. And I'm thinking, oh, this is my friend. This is the way she talks. She doesn't say these things out loud, but she's living them. I can see them expressed in the way she's living her life at the moment. And so she's not attached to what I find when I go over there looking for her. She's not wanting me to hurry, right, and rush over to make a drama out of it. Oh no, she doesn't have a DNR, a do not resuscitate. She doesn't plan to be where anybody's going to know she's needing to be resuscitated. She's going to be out back planting bushes. So impermanence is we have trouble. I think we have some trouble acknowledging and facing impermanence because we think it involves loss. But when something goes, something else comes too. What goes is impermanent, but but the fact that there's a hole there or an empty place there is also impermanent. Something will fill it. So the coming and the going are part of the process of material, worldly things being impermanent. And we also can't really grok impermanence because it's kind of like, it's the medium in which we have our being. It's the medium in which we be. It's like we can't, imagine a fish saying, here's what it's like to be in water. I don't believe that a fish could address that question. Because water is the medium within which the fish is. And impermanence is that medium for us. We could say, and that's an analogy, that we live in impermanence. Yes?
So, I've experienced that with regard to worldly concerns.
To what? To worldly concerns?
Concerns of, actually, it's funny. It is funny to think that, to take things so seriously that at any moment,
Mhm.
they're not relevant anymore.
Mhm.
They're not, it's all gone. I also heard many teachings around this precious human life is hard to find.
Mhm.
You don't know when it will come around again.
Mhm.
So don't waste your time and that kind of thing. And so that is, right now, when I think of impermanence, which is something that is, is penetrating for me right now.
Mhm.
That's what it is all about, is what have you been doing with your life? You don't want to come to the end of your life and not have practiced enough. You don't want to come to the end of your life and have wasted that time, on things that are worldly concerns and they're insignificant. And
That's good.
what do you say to that then? Suppose
I say then don't come to the end of your worldly life without having practiced.
So suppose that a person is told you have a very short period of time now,
Mhm.
and you were talking about what is the essence that you need to practice right now.
Mhm.
How does one come to that, to know, okay, right now, this is it, this is what I need to be doing?
It may not be about doing primarily. There may be things one needs to do. That wonderful expression we've heard, wind up your worldly affairs, right?
I mean, in terms of practice.
In terms of practice.
What is the practice, since, maybe there's not any time to launch into something that hasn't already been developed?
Then what you want to see is, what is the essence of all spiritual practice? In your tradition or, throughout traditions, what is the essence of all spiritual practice? And the answer to that is the word love. So if that's the essence of spiritual practice, then say you have 5 minutes or 5 more years, love. In every way that you know how, and every way that you can find in yourself, you practice love. For yourself, for all beings, for the enemies, for the worst critters on earth, for the best critters on earth, for the moon, the stars, the sun, for the earth, the rivers, for the polluters, for the polluted, you practice love for the whole thing, Hold nothing back. The whole rest of the life can be the life of a lover, celebrating and praising and thanking and giving and receiving suffering, when I was a very young person, probably in my early teens, I was supposed to write a term paper on how I became who I am. And I think that's a funny thing to ask a 16-year-old. Actually, when you think about it. This was a Quaker school, though, so we asked deep questions. So, and I said in that little paper something that I now think is actually true. I was being pretentious the way the teenager can be, you know. And I said, all my suffering is to carve out a place for greater love to come into me. And now I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, but it seemed kind of fancy at the time. But, you know, who knows? I can't look back and see my mind at that time. But so whatever suffering there is as we look at impermanence, you know, I may be leaving, or so somebody else may be leaving, or the house burned down in Paradise, California, or whatever it may be. Any loss, let that ebb tide be followed by a full tide of love. Any fear or anxiety, let it be completely dissolved in just love. Love, love, love. And this is not an abstract kind of love we're talking about. This is up close and personal, deep-hearted, warm-hearted, love you with your warts kind of love, the kind of love that is really hard for us to practice, you know, very difficult love to practice. If you know you're leaving shortly, why not? Just go for it. However hard it may be, do that. Go to the hardest place to love and love there. Love there. Turn your world upside down and love that empty place. There's no the great thing, and I've experienced this myself, and I work with people who, you know, who are facing impermanence in their lives, and the great thing about coming right up against impermanence, one's own impermanence or the impermanence of some other being that we care for, or some condition that is important to us, of circumstance, the great thing about coming up against the impermanence is that you don't have any choice about the impermanence. You have absolute choice about how you work with it. You know? It's like there's no second guessing it. It is impermanent. It's going. It's like on the auction block. And you can't change that. You cannot change that. And there's a great freedom in facing just directly that which we cannot change. Radical acceptance comes. Radical acceptance. That means at the root, you're fully accepting life on life's terms. Not trying to change it and say, well, I shouldn't be sick, or, you know, my puppy shouldn't die. I mean, that's what we do. We